Do you not understand? You can ask. You may ask. Thank you from us.
Thank you. Can my group start our presentation? Sir?
Ketawa bunga pula.
Okay, class, can we start?
Can you see this part?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Hi and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 4 and today we are going to cover social class and education. So these are the group members. My name is Nur Aqilah Nabilah, Binti Rozaini, and along with me is Nur Aznina Hafini, Siti Syahirah, and Nuraliya Sofea, and also Aina Sabreena. So this is what we are going to cover today. So my topic is social class and IQ controversy. So next. Okay, so I want to ask you from these 6 pictures, can you name me which 3 are social?
A,
A, E, and C.
Okay,
Wait. E and C.
okay, good. So
A
A and
A
C.
A E.
A, E,
Yeah,
C.
A, E, and C. So next, so we have now what is social. So social is living or disposed to live in companionship with others or in a community rather than in isolation. It means that we live in a group rather than we live alone. So next, so we want to know what is social class. Social class can be defined as many different things. However, the main things surrounding social class include wealth and social status. These two elements combine to create a division of a society based on social and economic status. The members of a society are divided into a hierarchy of different status classes, so that member of each class can have either higher or lower status than member of other classes. It simply means that in a society, we are different from one another. Our friends might belong to a higher hierarchy and vice versa. Next. So there are other opinions about what social class is. So according to Dennis L. Gilbert, who is a professor of sociology at Hamilton College, New York, said that we define social classes as group of families more or less equal in rank and differentiated from other families above or below them with regard to characteristics such as occupation, income, wealth, and prestige. While American Marketing Association said, these people are classified on the basis of esteem and prestige. Next is Encyclopedia Britannica said that social class can be defined as a group of humans who stays in a society that has the same socio-economic status. Next, common factors used to place people in different social classes, there are 5 common factors, which is the first one is occupation, what a person does for a living, source of income, which help us to determine whether two individuals that have the same income belong to the same class. And the next one is possession, the state of owning something. Association with others is where people tend to associate with others that share the same tastes and recreational activities. The last one is level of influence, where members in a higher class generally leads to greater influence within the workplace, organization, and society as a whole. So next, these are the characteristics of social class. We can determine whether it is social class or not by looking at these 4 characteristics. It is hierarchical. It is a natural form of segmentation. It provides a frame of reference for consumer behavior, and it also reflects a person's relative social class, social status. So next, okay, so I want to ask you to participate this time. Can you mix and match which are which? Which is which? So the first one is whether it is elite, upper, middle, working, or underclass.
Elite.
Okay. The second one,
Middle.
Middle.
Middle. Maybe middle.
yes, the second one is middle. The third one
Underclass.
Underclass.
is underclass. The fourth one
Upper class.
Upper class.
Upper
and the
class.
fifth one is
Working
left us
class.
is working class. Okay, so
Working
next.
class.
Okay, next.
Okay, so the first one is elite class. Some might say that there is an elite class as well as it is only less than 1% in number from all around the world. So this elite control resources and have inherited wealth and can travel frequently. So the fourth one is upper class. In Malaysia, it is called T20 or top 20%. Upper classes within society are usually considered to have the most wealth or money and the highest social status. However, they kind of having negative stereotypes like they are usually rude, they have close link to capitalism, they are higher authority, and they have high-end properties. In this world, this upper class is only less than 10% in number, and median monthly income is usually 15,000 ringgit, and for monthly solely is only 10,000 ringgit. So next one is middle class or M40, middle 40%, with median monthly income is 7,000 and monthly income only include from 4,000 to 10,000. So middle class people are considered to be just under those with the upper class. However, they can arguably have more money than upper class as they have to work for their earnings instead of having inherited it. So the fifth one is working class, which is B40, bottom 40%. It is also known as laboring class, where the working class are technically the lowest or some said second lowest class within society. This is because they tend to have job or less skill intelligence and are usually a lowest class in comparison to the middle and upper. They are usually blue collar or factory workers and also laborers. So the last one is underclass. This also can be called as lower underclass or poor. Lower or underclass has not fully been established as an official class. However, it is argued by sociologists that they are the lowest class, just under the working class. So these underclass people have more negative stereotypes surrounding them, like they are drug or alcohol addicts, they are lazy, troublemakers, no education or less intellect. So next, this is the meaning of education from various sources, and I believe that you have covered it with Dr. So you can read them later. So what is intelligence quotient? Intelligence quotient is an acronym of IQ. So the IQ is a measurement of our intelligence, and it is often expressed in a number like above 130 is superior, 100 is normal, below 78 is mental retardation, and so on and so forth. Intelligence is a very general mental capability that, among other things, involve the ability to reason and solve problems and so on. So, it is not merely book learning or test-taking smart. Rather, it reflects a broader and deeper capability for comprehending our surrounding, like catching on, making sense of things, or figuring out what to do. So, we can know the level of one's IQ by making him or her take an intelligence test. So the average IQ of a person is 100. So if you achieve a score higher than 100, it means that you are smarter than average person. And a lower score means that you are somewhat less smart. So next is we want to identify what is social class and IQ controversy. So there is now a growing literature that shows different social class can contribute to different IQ development, as stated by those studies, and therefore it can be said that higher the family income, the better education for children. Next, these are the studies that said so. So you can read. Next. So we want to answer these three questions. What are the relationship between social class and IQ controversy? So the first question is next. We want to answer if will the IQ level of children from lower class be developed well. So socioeconomic status or SES are depending on the parents' income or educational level. So it can be developed well if the parents have higher educational level, said by the studies. Next, so parents who have low income are more likely to be less educated and may not become a good role model for the children to follow. This is because children learn through observation and imitation. This observation and imitation of behavior by children through parental example, causing an act to become a culture according to social learning theory. So if parents have low income, they also have less awareness of the importance of learning. Since education correlates with income, household with higher level of education tend to have more knowledge, exposure, and also awareness. This means that the higher standard of parental education, the more increased and positive the child's behavior towards learning are. So therefore, by having enough necessity, children can develop their IQ even more. This indicates that the level of education of the parents is related with the child behavior towards learning. So next question is the poorer a child, the lower his IQ. So we know that IQ is not fixed. Our IQ can change over time, but IQ tests give us the same answer to a very substantial extent, even over a period of the year. So the older we are, the more stable our test score will be. It means that the IQ of young children changes as they mature. Therefore, it is not constant. For example, when someone has a high IQ, it doesn't mean that he will always be clever. His IQ may drop anytime. So research says that it is possible to raise our intelligence through certain brain training activities like by engaging in thoughtful activities and games, learning new skill and keep our brain active. Um, However, the children from underclass might have problems in developing their IQ. The environment is not supporting and convincing enough for them to have better education. So as parents, they need to provide an optimal environment for their children. So the home they provide should be able to support the physical and emotional needs of children, because they need to ensure that the home they inhabited should also be full of love and positivity. So, and next, so that next question is, does the income of a particular family, especially from the upper class, affect the children's IQ development? So the answer for this is yes, where 65.6% of children with high IQ came from family with high SES, socioeconomic status. It means that children who come from higher income families have better IQ from those who come from lower income families. So, according to Deckers in 2017, children from high SES family are more intelligent, patient, and rustic, and so on. So, these parents who are from higher SES are more likely to provide their children with educational aids such as books, gadgets, strong Wi-Fi connection, and easily, as well as sending them to tuition center for them to get extra lessons. So these children from higher SES families tend to have higher educational level and have good manners from other social classes. So that's all from me. So I will pass the floor to Aznina.
Alright. Okay, thank you, Sister Aqilah. Now I'm going to present under the topic social class and education. I'm going to present about schooling and the stigma of poverty. So the introduction of my topic is about a survey conducted by National Education Union, NEU, by their website. They said that poverty is damaging the educational opportunities for children from poor families. So from here, as you can see, you can already see the relationship between poverty and schooling. So, and 87% of respondents says that poverty is having a significant impact on the learning of the students. Okay, I'll show you a video. This is a very short video. I hope that you can learn something from this video. You don't have to try to understand it because it's not in our language. Oh my God, oh. That's true. Wait. Oh gosh. Oh, it's not hearing. Oh, sorry, baby. Okay. All right. Can you guys understand the video?
Yes.
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 It's a very meaningful and deep video. It's about a student who don't have the opportunity due to poverty. So now let's get to know what is schooling. So I give you three definitions here because we often, get confused between schooling, learning, and education. So learning is about the cognitive process which happen in our brain of acquiring new skills or knowledge, like you are acquiring knowledge from us, the presenters. And education is knowledge acquired by formal learning or instruction. And schooling is the process of being formally educated in a school, usually related to educational institution, and it also includes self-study, online learning, and private tuition. So stigma of poverty. Okay, stigma of poverty. What is the meaning of stigma and poverty? So stigma, it seems like a good, a good meaning word, but it's actually the meaning is discrimination against an identifiable group of people, a place, or a nation. Meaning you are discriminating people. This is what stigma means: discriminating, judging, stereotyping. So it's like if you meet a poor person and then you label them as being uneducated, as being lazy, without knowing the whole story. And poverty, this is from the bank, the World Bank organization. The meaning is, I love the meaning. So poverty is hunger, poverty is lack of shelter, poverty is being sick and not being able to see a doctor, poverty is not having access to school and not knowing how to read, poverty is not having a job, is fear for the future, living one day at a time. So if you have ever heard a proverb, kais pagi makan pagi, kais petang makan petang. So this is how the poverty actually live. They are not just poor, they are extremely poor. Okay, next, these are the newspaper card from several websites. So like poor students face more mental issues rather than stable academic students, and poverty can affect the students' academic performance, and being poverty also they can't afford going to school. Okay, now this is based on an article, Education, Poverty and Social Class by Terry Ringley. So based on his book, he tells us about a poverty child perspective, meaning their perspective. So they said that they are unlikely to receive regular pocket money, meaning they have no pocket money, no allowance, because their parents also don't have the money how they can give to the child, and this restrict their independence. Okay, imagine yourself going out with your friends, like outing or going anywhere, not bringing the money. How can you get the independence? No, right? You need to depend on the others. Maybe if your friend treat you, then you got. If not, yeah. So not being able to afford transport affect the opportunity to sustain friendship, meaning they are not able to meet their friends, and not having the right clothing also affect their self-esteem and can lead to bullying. Meaning if they are wearing the colorless shirts, people always look down on them, and they also not being able to look at themselves highly. Their self-esteem and self-confidence will automatically drop, and unable to afford school trips, meaning every time the school has school trips, they need to reject because they don't have the money. And also they reject their friends' invitation, meaning if your friends are asking you like 20 times, do you want to go out, you say can't, and this also will affect on their social activities. And have you ever watched this drama? I'm not the one who was
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are some yes, okay. So this is a very good drama with a lot of moral values. Actually, these five kids, they come from different social backgrounds. Some are, the parents are businessmen, businesswomen. The rock guy is from high income family. His father is Dato, and his father is Ustaz. So this girl named Kalisha, she is come from poverty background, to the point that when I remember the first episode when she go to work and she did not receive money, she received a bowl of rice. So when she come to home, she said to her mom that we can eat rice today. So when she wanted to cook the rice, actually there's no water at her home due to her father unable to pay the water bill. So she cried and she said that it's okay, I'll just fast today. So I learned a lot from this, and she also received free education from a religious school. And many people are bullying her, say that she's da'if. Da'if means very poor, and she's depending on the others. So this is one example of a poverty student. And then let's start to understand poverty and social class. I give you the meaning of poverty just now, but this is the other meaning. It means you can't afford an ordinary living pattern, meaning that you cannot do what other people do, like, visit people and something like that. Using the transport and, okay. Next is class are divided in this study by two: working class and middle class. So working class, apa isn't this, okay. All right. So working class is a manual worker employed in factories or in a land, like labor, those working at making building and so on. And middle class is usually workers in offices who have profession like teachers. Also, next is by Karl Marx. If you have learned, he also has a good theory on social class. He divided social class into two major social classes. The first one is those who own the means of production, those who own land, mines, and factories. So these are wealthy people. And workers, and the other one is workers for wages, meaning they only the labor power, meaning they give their strength to sell their strength or power, and they need to work first in order to get to survive, or else they will starve. Meaning this is the class that usually come among poverty people. So meaning they're only working for other, and if they don't have the money, they need to fast, or they don't have anything to eat. So poverty and schooling, how poverty and schooling are related to one another. Poverty in the study, it is associated with underachievement from an early age, meaning they are not given the same opportunity from the early age. And achievement gaps get bigger as children proceed through school. Meaning that the achievement gap between the stable economic class student and the poverty students. Like poor students who start off their study relatively high achievement are overtaken by the richest children who begins lower achievement. Meaning if the poor student, they start with high achievement, but they will end up overtaken by the rich student. Why? Because the rich or the high income or stable income students, they are able to, buy reference book, they are going to tuition, they are able to buy like exercises, but not for the poor students. So these are the reasons why the achievement is being overtaken by the richest children. And then Malaysia definition of poverty and poor. So Malaysia, we divided into two poverty. First is extremely poverty, and second is poor household. The extreme poverty is actually they fail to earn enough to fulfill basic survival, the same like I've talked before. And poor household is like they are falling short of certain standard, meaning the standard need by the society. They cannot afford the healthcare and education usually. And reasons, this is from UNICEF Malaysia in 2012. It says that the reason why children in Malaysia cannot access education first is lack of documentation, meaning that they don't have the birth certificate, because in order for us to enter our national school, we need to have the birth certificate. So second is children with disabilities. Children with mental or behavioral disabilities, they usually don't go to school compared to those with physical disabilities, because our national schools are not equipped with to be inclusive, especially in rural area. They don't have the schools that like provide for those the children with disabilities. And orang asli and indigenous children, they are not able to go to school because of it is located too far, and they also don't have the birth certificate. Like I said before, maybe they are born in a home without properly going to the office of to make the certificate, and they cannot afford the expenses. Also because language barriers, because actually the orang asli, they have their own language, and if they go to school, they need to speak in Malay, or either Malay or English. So maybe the language barrier also lead them to not to go to school. So how does Malaysia help poverty students? So I'll not mention many because might take me 2 hours. So as first is I can say generally scholarships. We receive scholarships from agencies or government. We also by the help of policies, the art. That help the poverty people or students, and the facilities at schools like the table are already provided and so on, like whiteboard and also textbooks and subsidies. We receive subsidies even university student, our study fees is being cut off by the subsidies and brain also the money that we received due to COVID-19 is all the help of Malaysia government. So do we need school in order to get an education? Yes or no? This is my question. In order for us to get education, do we need schools? Anyone?
Yeah,
Yes, why?
because if we go to others, we can get religious knowledge in from the masjid. Yes, but for like academic knowledge, we cannot get it except from school.
Woman.
Maybe not. Enggak. More of ni like that.
Nak apa?
All right, thank you. I think about this is and opinion, it can be yes or no, but from what I've read, the person in a website, he said no, because we can learn, if we can learn anywhere. It says that for example, education, it could be at home. Like now we are doing online learning, so we does not necessarily need school, but I think we do need school in order, like we learn for social school work as social institutions, so we need in order to socialize with people and so on. There are many benefits of going to school, so it is necessary. It is good to go to school, but it is not a necessity in order for us to get an education, because we can get education from anywhere. So as a conclusion, education is a right of every child, and it is important, a part of nation building. A good education is the foundation for children's success later in life and a common factor ending cycles of poverty. So in order for us to end the cycles of poverty among the students, we need to provide education, because education is the only thing that can help them to have a brighter future. This is stated by UNICEF Malaysia 2015. So as a future teacher, it's a must for us to understand the students who come from poverty background, as they don't have as many chances or opportunity like the rest. So do not judge and treat them fairly. Besides, I want to highlight also, not all students with poverty background have no future or low achievement in studies, because every student are different and they also raised differently at home, because some are very high achiever. And lastly, whoever follow a path in pursuit of knowledge, Allah will make path to paradise easy for him. So I believe by this, I believe that education is for everyone, no matter what your background is, either you are rich or you are poor, because Allah open the paradise to anyone who wants it. So education should also be open to everyone. So next, I give the platform to the Nuraliya Sofea.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Hi. All right. Is it clear?
Clear.
All right.
Yes.
So
Yes, clear.
today I will be explaining about listeners
Hmm.
and the vicious circle. All right. Next.
Oh, sorry.
All right. So before you.
Weh, Alia.
We cannot hear.
Can I hear you, Alia?
Oh, can you hear?
Yes,
Oh
can.
yes. You need to. Now can.
All right. So before we go deeper, right? So I want to ask you, when you encounter situation and do better next time.
Alia?
Did I hear next slide? Did I? I don't know.
I think her internet connection is unstable.
Are you okay, Alia?
Alright, can you hear me?
Now, yes.
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 Yes, yes.
Alright, I thought because my internet connection is bad. So I want to ask all of you.
Okay.
For example, when we encounter a situation where you fail in your exam, do you tend to give up or you move on and do better next time?
Let it go and let
Give up.
Move on.
Wow.
Alright, so today we'll be learning something that related to that. Okay, what is learned helplessness? Learned helplessness is a state that occurs after a person has experienced a stressful situation repeatedly, and they come to believe that they are unable to control or change the situation. So they do not try even when there are opportunities to change that situation. And this state may lead a person to be more stressed and depressed. So for some people, learned helplessness can be related to post-traumatic stress disorder. And according to the American Psychological Association, learned helplessness occurs when someone repeatedly faces uncontrollable, stressful situations that does not exercise control when it becomes available. Alright, next. This is the scientist and professor who introduced this theory, Prof. Martin Seligman, together with Prof. Steven. They said that to define learned helplessness, there are three key features. Number one is becoming passive in the face of trauma. And the second one is difficulty learning that responses can control trauma. And the third one is that can increase in stress levels. Alright. So here is the background to the theory. Okay. The researchers conducted a studies on dogs in which they exposed these dogs to a series of electric shock. So imagine there are two dogs in a box where they have electrified floor. So the first cage they have a lever to stop the electric, but the second dog does not have anything to stop the electrified shock. Alright. So the dogs that couldn't control the shocks eventually showed the signs of depression and anxiety. Meanwhile, those dogs that could press a lever to stop the shocks didn't show any signs of depression. And later, in follow-up research, the dogs that couldn't control shocks in the first experiment did not even try to avoid the shocks, despite the fact that they could have done so by jumping over a barrier. Here, they have learned to become helpless. Alright, next. Okay, while the concept is strongly tied to animal psychology and behaviors, it is also applied to humans in many situations. Alright, and it can happen in adults and children. Alright, let's look at the adult first. In adults, self-helplessness presents as a person when they do not use and learning adaptive responses to difficult situations. For example, when a woman or man being unable to lose weight after making a various dietary or lifestyle changes that can cause them to believe that it will never happen and I will not become thin pun macam tu. And they tend to give up trying that diet. Alright. So in children, this is often originate in childhood because of the caregivers because of their caregivers, and the prolonged abuse and neglect can be the causes too. So for examples, it can result the student to be low self-esteem and they do not bother to ask for help. And also, they think that when they are successful, it is not because of their efforts, but they consider it as luck. Alright. Next. Back Nina.
Wait,
Alright.
this one or this one?
Why does explanatory style? Okay. So why does only some people experience learn helplessness? Okay. Explanatory styles also play a role in its development. Okay, explanatory styles is an individual's characteristic style of explaining events, how they perceive something when encounters a hard situations. Okay, so there are two explanatory styles, which is people with pessimistic explanatory style. Uh, Pessimist is a negative when they think negatively about the events, when about the situations that they encountered. So this will causing them to view negative events as being unavoidable and resulting from their own shortcomings. And people who with optimistic explanatory style are less likely to do so because they always think positive and they tend to move on and do better next time. Alright.
Next.
Next. Okay, how to overcome this? The first one is the therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. CBT is a form of psychotherapy that focuses on how a person's thought and belief and attitudes affect their feelings and behaviors. In this therapy, the professional will help you how to change your mind, how to build your resilience, and all like that to become more positive. Alright, so exercise and healthy diet is interrelated because when we lead a healthy lifestyle, we tend to think positive and leave the negative things. Alright, the last one is meditating and practicing mindfulness. Okay, this one is a very important as in Islam also said that we should think clearly and we should think positively in whatever happens in our life. Alright, there must be a reason behind that. Alright, so the next one is a vicious circle or virtuous circle. Right, next one. Okay, virtuous cycle is as we can see here is a good thing. Meanwhile, vicious circle is a bad thing. Alright. Okay. The terms of virtuous circle and vicious circle refer to complex chains of events that reinforce themselves through a feedback loop. A virtuous circle, as I said earlier, has a favorable result which lead to a positive result, and while a vicious circle has a detrimental result, which lead to a negative result, something like that. Alright. How to solve this problem? The circle will move in the direction of the momentum, but when there is an intervention of external factor, the circle will break. Okay. For example, vicious circle is something that negative. For instance, a woman they feel shy. In whatever, maybe she is a very introvert person. He doesn't like to meet people and all like that. So more times she feels that there's nothing to change about this introvert feelings. They feel shy and they couldn't do better in front of people. So with an intervention, this is called intervention, which will help. So it can break the cycle. It will, for instance, maybe their parents or maybe their friends help her to meet people and build her confidence. So the circle will break. Alright. Next one. Okay, so here is the differences between vicious circle and virtuous circle. In vicious circle, spirals in a downward loop negative results. So most traits are passed from parents to child in our context, which is education, and it can lead to the cycle of poverty. Example, lack of educational support. Alright, so the next one is vicious circle. The spirals in an upward loop. which lead to positive results. The traits are parts from parents to child too, but are most likely from executive mating theory. So what is executive mating theory? So there are two executive mating
Kencing.
theory, which is positive and negative. So
Oh,
in
go
positive
toilet.
executive mating theory, people choose to mate with person that are similar to them. Alright, the negative one, maybe in terms of education and social class, maybe the parents are educated and both their mother and their father is rich. So that is the positive executive mating theory, which the parents are more likely to be in the same social class. So the negative executive mating theory is opposite to this, where um they match with person that similar to them but in terms of opposite one. Alright. So here is the just for your information. Alright. So I think that's all from me. I will pass the floor to Siti Syahirah.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay, hi, my name is Siti Syahirah Yusuf and I will be presenting about self-esteem and self-fulfilling prophecy. So Oprah Winfrey once said that self-esteem comes from being able to define the world in your own terms and refusing to abide by the judgment of others. So what is exactly self-esteem means? Next. Self-esteem refers to an individual's subjective evaluation of his or her worth as a person. Self-esteem is confidence in one's own worth or abilities, and it's also known as self-respect or self-worth. So from here, we know that self-esteem is the way how we perceive ourselves, how we value ourselves, and how do we feel about it. It can be either positive or negative. Next. Nina, next. Self-esteem involves feelings of self-acceptance and self-respect, in contrast to the excessive self-regard and self-aggrandizement that characterize narcissistic individuals. It is a way of thinking, feeling, and acting that implies that you accept, respect, and believe in yourself. Next. So this is the Maslow hierarchy of needs that we have learned in our first semester. So as you can see, self-esteem is at the fourth stage of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. In order to achieve that level, we have to first fulfill the first three of the hierarchy first, which is physiological needs, safety needs, and also love and belonging for us to achieve the esteem level. So next. So there are three types of self-esteem. As you can see, there are inflated self-esteem, high self-esteem, and low self-esteem. So we're going to look at each of one. Okay, next. Inflated self-esteem, from the word inflated itself. Inflated means excessively high or unreasonably high. So people with inflated self-esteem tends to think that they are better than others. And they have no problem at judging and underestimating everyone else, meaning that they are overly confident person. Okay, next. The second one is high self-esteem. High self-esteem is rather different with inflated self-esteem because high self-esteem people seems to accept and value themselves right. And high self-esteem people has the confidence in themselves and the courage to face problems that may arise and makes everything much easier. Here comes the differences between high esteem people and inflated self-esteem people, which are high self-esteem people will not underestimate other people. Okay, next. Low self-esteem people have negative beliefs about themselves, their lack of confidence, and the lack of courage to face problems, and they view problems seems to be hard and impossible to overcome. So like Aznina had presented earlier, students from low-income families tend to have lower self-esteem compared to other students. Next. Okay, self-fulfilling prophecy. Next. Self-fulfilling prophecy is a process through which an originally false expectation leads to its own confirmation. So in a self-fulfilling prophecy, an individual's expectations about another person or entity eventually result in the other person or entity acting in ways that confirm the expectations. A self-fulfilling prophecy is a belief or expectation that an individual holds about a future event that manifests because the individuals holds it. So I know it's kind of long. So to make it simple, we look at the prophecy word. So prophecy is actually a prediction of what will happen in the future. So meaning here, self-fulfilling prophecy is actually a socio-psychological phenomena of someone predicting something, and this prediction eventually comes true simply because the person believes it will, and the person's resulting behaviors align to fulfill the belief. Is basically what you believe. You will get what you believe. Do you understand? Am I going too fast?
Mm, mm, No,
Okay.
but is it applicable? Means applicable in any time?
Sorry.
Let's not continue.
Okay. Okay. Now next. Okay. For example, self-fulfilling prophecy example is that when you wake up, if you wake up and you wake up in the morning and you immediately think that the first thing that you wake up in the morning, and then you suddenly think that today is going to be a terrible day for me, and then after that your attitude might make your prediction come true. You may unconsciously work to affirm your belief by ignoring the positive, implying the negative, and behaving in ways that are unlikely to contribute to an enjoyable day. Okay, next. Okay, self-fulfilling prophecy in sociology. It was first discovered and defined by sociologist Robert Merton. So Merton coined the term self-fulfilling prophecy and defining it as a false definition of the situation, evoking a new behavior which makes the originally false conception come true. So for example of self-fulfilling prophecy in sociology is racial prejudice and discrimination. So how we believe a certain race tends to behave, so we tend to discriminate some kind of race like that. Okay, next. So the Pygmalion effect. So Pygmalion effect, or also known as Rosenthal effect, is a psychological phenomenon whereby high expectations lead to improved performance in a given area. Um, These studies hinted at the idea that not only do our expectations for ourselves influence outcomes, our expectations of others also have an impact on our thoughts, feelings, and behavior towards them. So the findings from this experiment showed that teachers' expectations of students influence student performance more than any differences in talent or intelligence. Next. So this is the infographic, as you can see. Okay, the Pygmalion effect is where, okay, firstly is your image, is ourselves, how we present ourselves, and then when people sees us, um, that's where the impacts come from. The people perceive something about us when they see us. So when have people have that perception on us, they will um, affect the behavior of them towards us. So how they speak to us, how they act with us, like that. So it will eventually influence on us back, because we feel that, oh, this person treats me badly. So what do I need to improve myself? So that's when we improve ourselves, the self-improvement part, when we improve ourselves, it leads to the changes of people impression towards us. And then after we have people's impression has changed on us, is that is when our image is improved. Do you get that?
Yes.
Okay. So so for the conclusion is that when we expect certain behaviors of others, we are likely to act in ways that make the expected behavior more likely to occur. Thank you. So I pass the presentation to our last presenter, which is Aina Sabreena.
Okay, Bismillah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Everyone, my name is Nur Aqilah Sabreena binti Mohammad Sanusi, and I am the very last presenter for today, so I will make it fast. Okay, so I'm going to present about rural versus urban achievement in education. So before I proceed with the explanation, I want you guys to, okay, next, to look at this picture, and can you notice the difference between both pictures? Anyone?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, the one.
Yes.
Okay, so the picture A and B, which one do you think is rural and which one is urban?
Rural one.
A
B.
is rural.
A,
B
rural.
urban.
B,
A
urban.
is rural.
B urban.
Okay, clever. Good job, everyone. Okay, next. Okay, so let's move on to the definition of rural. So based on my research, there is three definition, which is we can see that from Herzog Pittman, he defines that rural is the area which is not part of the city or non-metropolitan area, which is okay. And next, according to National Geographic, rural area have low population of people. And then according to farmer, rural is something opposite to the urban. For example, if the urban have very developed technologies, then the rural area don't have it. Okay, next. What about urban? Okay, so urban is actually an area or region that is surrounding by a city, and they don't have any area that have non-agricultural job, and it is very developed, and they have characteristic like they have very big buildings, very good technology, something like that. Okay, next. Okay, what is urban according to UNICEF 2012, which is according to the UNICEF, urban area, they have administrative criteria and political boundaries, which is they have like authority that govern the city. And then they have a big population and crowded people. And then they have a presence of urban characteristic, like they have really good streets, good building, something like that. All right, next. What about, and next. Okay, what about rural school? Okay, rural school is actually a place which is located inside or outside metropolitan area, and they have less population of people, which is equivalent to 2,500 people only. This according to Johnson Strange and Strange 2005. Okay, next. What about urban school? Okay, urban school is opposite with the rural school, which is they usually are larger, and then they have greater responsibilities for resource, education for the students, and they are rarely to face or experience staff or teachers shortage. Okay, this according to PISA 2013. Okay, next. Okay, this one is very simple. I think every one of you can understand, because characteristic of rural school, they have small number of students, they far from the cities, they have poor facilities, and most likely they experience teacher shortage. So next is the characteristic of the urban school, which is very opposite with the rural school. They have large number of students, they are near to the cities, they have very good school facilities, and they less likely to experience teacher shortage. So we next, okay, this is according to the World Bank 2010. They said that there is actually a problem where students from rural school, they are most likely to perform worse in the test compared to the one who in the urban area. So this we can see in the place such as Sabah, Kelantan and Melaka. Okay, next. Okay. Meanwhile, for the urban school, this is according to UKSA, they said that students that live in the urban area, they will have the tendency to have high performance and excel in opportunities which provided in their location. This is because they have greater access to many resources in their area. Okay, next. So let's discuss about the factor. So there is a several factor. Okay, next. The first factor is because low socio-economic factor. Okay, as you can see in the rural, which is we know that most of the students who comes from the rural area, they have like low income families, and their parents are less educated, and they are not well employed compared to the one who live in the urban, where the students have very high income families, which their families can afford tuition for their children, and their parents are also well educated and well employed. So next, the second factor is because of the poverty. Okay, this is the study according to Adam and Kasim, where he said that in 2004, Kedah and Perlis has recorded the highest overall poverty in the Northern Corridor, which is in Kedah itself. It is equivalent to 27,300 households, which is very huge number. And according to the Perlis, is 3,200 household. So this is a very huge factor. Okay, next. Okay, next is because of the technology. As we all know that rural area, they have lack of technology. They have, because the school in the rural area, they have problem to channel the technology, because most of the people, especially the parents, they think that technology is actually only suitable for the one who live in the urban school. Okay, next. Okay, and next is because of the poor facilities. So Mitra 2008 said that actually poor school infrastructure or poor facilities is actually a very common problem faced by the school in rural area. So by having this problem, this factor, it is difficult for the teacher to teach the students, because the school, they have like leaking roof, rotting floors and inadequate lighting. So how can we have a good education if our surrounding is not good, right? Okay, so next. Okay, this factor is common because in the rural area, usually they have less qualified teachers. The teachers sent to the rural area usually are the one who has less experience. They are the new teachers. So that's why compared to the student in urban area, usually they have like very modern teachers, the teachers that has been exposed to the technology. So that's why this is the major reason. Okay, next. Okay, and then because of the school size, usually school in rural area, they have they have small school size. So that's why they have inadequate numbers of teachers. So the teacher have to do multitask. So they have to like one teacher teach many subjects. So it's really hard for the teacher to focus on the certain students, to pay attention to them. So that is why. Okay, next. Okay, so how can we address this issue? Okay, so there's many parties. Okay, next.
Okay, first is the government. What can government do? Okay, government can provide enough facilities for the students, especially the one in rural areas. And then the government can provide financial support for the students. And then the government also can ensure that the teacher who sent to the school is the one who is very qualified and very well experienced. Okay, next. Okay, this is the one of the example initiative that our government done. The one first is SPBT. I'm really sure that every one of you like has this experience, which is the government give us to borrow books, right? So this is the textbook loan scheme SPBT during our school, and then the second initiative done by the government is BPPM, Bantuan Perjalanan dan Pengangkutan Murid, which is Student Travel and Transportation Assistance. So how does this work is that it helps the student to have transportation from their home to the school very easily. Okay, next. So what about the role of the parents? Parents can give supports. Okay, they can give supports by giving moral supports and motivation for their children to learn. And then they also can monitor their students, their children's progress in learning. Okay, next. Okay, and then what about teacher? Teacher can offer helps. For example, the teacher can guide the students and help the students who don't understand, and then guide them to finish their work. And then teacher also need to create caring environment. For example, by creating good relationship with the students. And then the teacher also need to give encouragement for the students. Okay, next. Okay, what about the role of the students themselves? So the students need to seek help and motivation. They have to study hard, try to find someone that can help them in learning, so that they can be motivated to study. And then they have to change their mindset. How? Okay, for example, like they know they are come from rural area, so that they have many limited access. So they cannot like simply use that as an excuse for them for not to learn. So they have to change their mindset because everything is possible. So next. Finally, we come to the conclusion. Okay, based on the discussion, it is clearly proved that many parties are responsible to, for empowering rural education. Awareness needs to exist among people and other parties so that students from rural or urban area will not left behind in education. So I guess that's all from our group presentation. Thank you so much for listening and giving attention. So if you guys have any question, you can ask in the WhatsApp group. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the group, for the presentation. Thank you. Okay, I think it's already time for you to take break. So let's conclude with the recitation of Surah Al-Asr. Okay, thank you everyone. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you,
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, presenters.